Zawadi watched the Park family's faces freeze in perfect synchronization when she stepped through the entrance. Not because of her dress, though the midnight blue fabric caught the chandelier light beautifully. Not because she'd actually shown up, though the invitation had clearly been sent with the expectation she'd be too ashamed to attend. No, the entire room went silent because of the man whose arm she held. Kang Seo-jun didn't just walk into rooms, he changed their atmospheric pressure. And judging by the way her step-grandmother's champagne glass had stopped halfway to her lips, the Parks had just realized their annual humiliation ceremony was about to go very, very differently than planned. Zawadi stared at the cream-colored invitation card on her desk and wanted to laugh, or maybe cry. She hadn't decided yet. The Park family annual reunion, formal attire required, plus one welcome. That last part was new. In 3 years of attending these things, they'd never offered her a +1. She knew exactly what it meant. They wanted her to show up alone again, to sit at the edge of the table again, to smile politely while they asked questions designed to remind everyone in the room that she didn't belong. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ji-won, her step-cousin. "Can't wait to see you next week. I'm bringing Minho. He just made partner at his law firm. Who are you bringing? Oh wait, are you seeing anyone? I forget you're so focused on work." Zawadi set the phone face down. Ji-won never forgot anything. That was the problem. She looked around her tiny office at the fabric import company. Bolts of cloth lined the walls, samples scattered across every surface. This was the only place in Seoul that felt like hers. She could read text skills the way other people read faces. The weight of the thread, the pattern of the weave, where it came from, how old it was, whether it was made by machine or hand. Her mother had taught her that. Before the cancer, before the Park family, before everything got complicated. Zawadi. Her manager's voice cut through her thoughts. Mr. Cho stood in the doorway, holding a file. "I need you to verify these cotton samples. The client says they're Egyptian, but the price point doesn't match." She took the file without looking up. "They're not Egyptian. The staple length is wrong. Probably Pakistani. Good quality, but not what they're claiming." Mr. Cho blinked. "You haven't even looked at them yet." "I don't need to. The weight listed here is 0.5 grams off. Egyptian cotton doesn't vary like that from the standard." She handed the file back. "Tell them to send us the real certificates, or we walk." He took the file slowly. Sometimes she forgot that what seemed obvious to her looked like magic to everyone else. Her mother used to say she had fabric in her blood instead of water. After Mr. Cho left, Zawadi picked up the invitation again. Next Friday. 7 days to decide if she could stomach another evening of polite humiliation. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Miss Ochieng." The voice was male, measured, with an accent that suggested expensive international schools. "My name is Kang Seo-jun. We met 3 months ago. You identified a textile for me." Zawadi sat up straighter. She remembered. How could she not? The warehouse had been in Seongsu-dong, tucked behind a building that looked abandoned, but wasn't. She'd been brought there by a nervous art dealer who'd promised her double her usual consulting fee, and then vanished the moment they walked inside. The man waiting for her hadn't introduced himself. He'd simply gestured to a cloth hanging on the wall, backlit and stunning. Kente weaving, geometric patterns in gold and deep red, the kind of piece that belonged in a museum. "Tell me about it," he'd said. She'd walked closer, studied the weave, touched the edge carefully. Then she'd turned to face him directly. "It's from Ghana, Asante tradition, probably late 19th century based on the dye saturation. The pattern suggests royal use." She'd paused. "It's also stolen. There are only 4 pieces like this in existence, and all of them were documented in the British Museum theft 2 years ago." The room had gone very quiet. 3 men along the wall had tensed. The man in front of her hadn't moved. "You're sure?" he'd said. "I'm sure. And if you try to sell it, you'll have Interpol and half the international art world on your doorstep in a week. She'd met his eyes. You should return it, anonymously, before it becomes a bigger problem than it's worth. Then she'd walked out. No one had stopped her. The dealer had called her 10 times that night, panicked, asking what she'd said. She'd blocked his number and waited to see if she'd made a terrible mistake. Nothing had happened. Until now. I remember, Zawadi said carefully. Did you take my advice? The piece was returned to the museum last month. Anonymous donation. They were very grateful. There was something in his voice she couldn't read. I'm calling because I have a proposition for you. I don't do unauthorized appraisals anymore. This is different. I need an escort to a private event next week. There will be an art viewing, several pieces I'd like authenticated. You'd be compensated for your time and expertise. Zawadi frowned. You need an escort to an art event? Yes. There are services for that kind of thing. I don't need that kind of escort. His tone didn't change, but somehow the air felt different. I need someone who can look at a painting and tell me if it's worth what someone claims. Someone who won't be intimidated by the room. Someone who told me to my face that I was holding stolen property and should fix it. Despite everything, Zawadi almost smiled. That's a very specific requirement. You're a very specific person, Miss Ochieng. She should say no. This man, whoever he really was, operated in a world she wanted nothing to do with. The warehouse, the stolen art, the way everyone around him had moved like he was the sun, and they were planets locked in orbit. But something made her ask, what event? A private gathering, very exclusive. Some old families showing off their collections. He paused. I'll send you the details. If you're interested, we can discuss terms. I haven't said yes. Not yet. The call ended. 2 minutes later, her phone pinged with an email. The details were minimal. Date, time, location. The location made her hands go cold. The Park family estate. Next Friday. 7 p.m. Her reunion. Before she could think about it too hard, she called the number back. He picked up on the first ring like he'd been waiting. The event you're talking about, Zawadi said. Is it the Park family reunion? Yes. Do you know them? She laughed. It sounded bitter even to her own ears. You could say that. They're my stepfamily. Silence on the other end. Then, I see. Does that change your answer? It should. This was complicated in ways she didn't have words for. But Zawadi looked at the invitation sitting on her desk, at Jiwan's text message, at the tiny office that represented everything she'd built alone, in a country that still sometimes felt foreign. What exactly would this arrangement look like? She asked. I attend as your guest. You authenticate what I need authenticated. We stay for an appropriate amount of time and leave. Nothing more, nothing less. They'll think we're together, romantically. Does that bother you? Does it bother you? Not particularly. His voice held something that might have been amusement. I think it might actually make the evening more interesting. Zawadi closed her eyes. This was a terrible idea. She should absolutely not do this. I want 50% up front, she said, and I choose what I wear. Agreed. And Miss Ochieng? He paused. I should mention something. People tend to have strong reactions to my presence. Your family may be uncomfortable. Good, Zawadi said, and meant it. Hey, I know you just started this story, but if it's already got you curious about what happens when Zawadi walks into that reunion, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you're going to want to see where this goes. Now, let's get back to it. The next 3 days passed in a blur of work and second-guessing. Zawadi told no one about the arrangement. Not her co-workers, not the few friends she'd made in Seoul. Definitely not anyone connected to the Park family. She did, however, go shopping. The dress she chose was midnight blue, simple lines, but the fabric was Ethiopian cotton with subtle silver threading that caught the light when she moved. It covered everything it needed to cover, but fit like it was made for her body specifically. Her mother would have loved it. She was zipping it into a garment bag when her phone rang again. Seo Jun. There's a car coming to get you tomorrow at 6, he said without preamble. We should arrive together. I can meet you there. We could do that. But if we're going to make an impression, we should make an entrance. He paused. Unless you'd rather not. Zawadi looked at herself in the mirror. When was the last time she'd done something just because she wanted to? Just because it felt good to choose? 6 is fine, she said. Good. One more thing. Do you have any allergies I should know about? Why would you need to know that? Because if someone tries to poison you at dinner, I'd like to know if it's the food or an actual attempt. He said it so casually that Zawadi couldn't tell if he was joking. No allergies, she said slowly. Should I be worried about poison? No, but I like to be thorough. Then, quieter. They've been cruel to you. The Parks. It wasn't a question. Zawadi didn't ask how he knew. They've been themselves, she said finally. I'm just not what they wanted when my mother married into the family. What did they want? For her to stay quiet, donate money, and conveniently not have a daughter. Zawadi sat down on her bed. When she got sick, they paid for the best hospitals, made sure everyone knew how generous they were. Then after she died, they kept me around like a houseplant. Something to show off when it made them look good. She didn't know why she was telling him this. Maybe because he was a stranger. Maybe because, in 2 days, he was going to walk into the worst room she knew, and she needed him to understand what he was agreeing to. They invited you to this reunion specifically to humiliate you, Seo Jun said. It wasn't a question. Probably. Jiwon's been hinting that there's someone they want to introduce around, an investor or something. I think I'm supposed to be the before picture. Look how charitable we are. We even include the help in family events. And you're still going. I'm always going. If I don't show up, it confirms what they think. That I don't belong. That I'm ashamed. She picked at a thread on her bedspread. At least this time, I won't be alone. No, Seo Jun said. You won't. Something in his voice made her chest feel tight. Why are you really doing this? Zawadi asked. You could hire any authenticator in Seoul. Why me? The silence stretched long enough that she thought he might not answer. Because 3 months ago, he finally said, you walked into a room full of dangerous men and told me the truth when lying would have been safer. You didn't check to see who I was first. Didn't calculate the risk. You just told the truth. He exhaled. That's rare in my world. Maybe in any world. I could have just been stupid. You're not stupid, Miss Ochieng. That's the whole point. After he hung up, Zawadi sat in her apartment for a long time, holding her phone and wondering what she'd actually agreed to. Friday arrived like an execution date. Zawadi spent the morning at work, trying to focus on fabric samples and failing. Mr. Cho asked if she was feeling well. She lied and said she was fine. At 4, she left early, went home, and started getting ready with the kind of focus she usually reserved for complex authentication jobs. Shower, skin care, hair pulled back in a way that looked effortless, but had taken 20 minutes to perfect. Minimal makeup. The dress. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw her mother's eyes looking back. Strong, steady, unashamed. I hope I'm doing the right thing, she whispered to the empty room. At 5:58, her phone buzzed. He's here? Zawadi grabbed her small bag, locked her door, and walked downstairs on legs that felt steadier than she'd expected. The car was black, expensive in a way that didn't need to announce itself. The driver opened the door without speaking. Seo Jun was already in the back seat. Zawadi had seen him before, in the warehouse, but somehow she'd forgotten the details. Or maybe her brain had softened them as a defense mechanism. He was devastating. Not in a pretty way. In a way that made you pay attention. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that tracked movement like he was calculating trajectories, hair styled back in a way that suggested someone else had done it for him. He wore a black suit with a black shirt, no tie, one button undone at the collar. He looked like money, and Danger had a meeting and decided to collaborate. "Miss Ochieng," he said, and his eyes moved over her face carefully, not down her body, not assessing her like an object, just seeing her. "You look ready." "For what, exactly?" Zawadi slid into the seat, and the driver closed the door. "For them to underestimate you one last time." He handed her a small box. "This is for you." She opened it carefully. Inside was a bracelet, delicate silver, with small stones that caught the light. She recognized the craftsmanship immediately. Maasai work, modern design but traditional technique. "You didn't need to do this," she said quietly. "I know. But you're doing me a favor tonight, and I wanted you to have something that felt like you." He gestured to it. "If I got it wrong, you don't have to wear it." Zawadi put it on. It fit perfectly. The drive to the Park Estate took 40 minutes through Seoul traffic. Seo Jun spent most of it on his phone, speaking in rapid Korean that she couldn't quite follow. Business, from the sound of it. Serious business. At one point he paused and glanced at her. "Nervous?" "Should I be?" "No. But you're gripping your bag like it might try to escape." Zawadi loosened her fingers deliberately. "What do you actually know about the Park family?" "Enough. Old money, real estate development, hotel chains, strong political connections. Your step-grandmother Hyunja runs most of it, even though her sons pretend they're in charge." He put his phone down. "They're hosting a man named Yoon tonight. He's considering investing in their new hotel project. Very big deal, lots of money at stake." "And you know this how?" Seo Jun smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "I make it my business to know things." "Are you going to tell me what you actually do?" Zawadi asked. "Besides collect stolen art and know things. I run import businesses, luxury goods mostly. Art, furniture, textiles sometimes." He tilted his head. "Among other things." "Other things. Other things," he agreed, and didn't elaborate. The car turned onto a tree-lined private road. Zawadi's stomach dropped. She knew this road. At the end of it was the Park Estate. All traditional architecture and carefully manicured gardens, and rooms that echoed when you walked through them alone. "Last chance," Seo Jun said quietly. "We can turn around. I'll pay you anyway for your time." Zawadi looked at him. Really looked. There was something in his expression that seemed almost protective, like he actually cared if she was about to walk into pain. "No," she said. "I want to do this." "All right then," he settled back in his seat. "Let's go remind them who you are." The car pulled up to the main entrance. Other vehicles lined the circular driveway, expensive and gleaming. Zawadi could see people moving inside through the windows, formal clothes and champagne glasses, and the kind of laughter that came from people who'd never worried about money. The driver opened Seo Jun's door first. He stepped out, buttoned his jacket with one hand, then turned and offered Zawadi his arm. She took it. His arm was solid under her hand, steady. They walked up the stone steps together. The door opened before they reached it. A staff member Zawadi vaguely recognized bowed slightly, then froze when he saw Seo Jun's face. Something flickered in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Or fear. "Good evening," Seo Jun said pleasantly. "We're here for the Park family gathering." The man recovered quickly. "Of course, please, come in." The entry hall was exactly as Zawadi remembered. High ceilings, art on every wall, flowers that probably cost more than her monthly rent. People clustered in groups, talking in voices that carried just enough to sound important. And every single one of them stopped talking when Zawadi walked in on Seo Jun's arm. The silence happened in stages. First the people nearest the door, then the ones behind them, then like a wave rolling through water. Everyone. Ji-won was standing near the far wall, with a man who must have been Minho, the new law partner. Her mouth actually fell open. An older woman in a cream hanbok turned from her conversation. Hyunja, the matriarch, Zawadi's step-grandmother in name only. Her face could have been carved from ice. Zawadi felt Seo-jun's arm tighten slightly under her hand, steadying her, or maybe steadying himself. "Smile," he murmured, too low for anyone else to hear. "You're about to win." So Zawadi smiled, and the room held its breath. Hyunja recovered first. Of course she did. Twarakor, woman, had probably practiced composure in the womb. "Zawadi," her voice carried across the hall, clear and controlled. "How lovely that you could join us. We weren't sure you'd come." Liar. They'd been counting on it. Zawadi stepped forward, Seo-jun moving with her like they'd practiced this. "Thank you for the invitation, grandmother. I brought a guest. This is Kang Seo-jun." She watched Hyunja's eyes move to him, watched the microscopic pause as the name registered. The older woman's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air around her. "Mr. Kang, what an unexpected pleasure." Hyunja's smile was perfect and completely empty. "I didn't realize you knew our Zawadi." Our Zawadi, like she was a pet, like she belonged to them. "We've worked together," Seo-jun said smoothly. "Miss Oh-chiang authenticated several pieces for me recently. Her expertise is remarkable." The emphasis on her title was so subtle that most people probably missed it. But Zawadi caught it. So did Hyunja. "How nice." Hyunja turned slightly, gesturing to a tall man standing behind her. "Mr. Kang, you must meet Mr. Yoon. He's considering a partnership with our family. I'm sure you two have much to discuss." Mr. Yoon stepped forward with a smile that died the moment he saw Seo-jun's face. "We've met," Yoon said. His voice sounded thin. "Mr. Kang, I didn't know you'd be here tonight." "Last-minute addition," Seo-jun said pleasantly. "I hope that's not a problem." No, of course not." Yoon's eyes darted to Hyunja, back to Seo-jun, then to Zawadi, like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't make sense. Not a problem at all. Zawadi felt tension running underneath the conversation, like electrical current. These men knew each other, and Yoon was afraid. Ji-won chose that moment to drift closer, Minho in tow. She'd recovered from her initial shock and rearranged her face into something approximating friendliness. "Zawadi, wow, you look so different." Ji-won's eyes moved over her dress with the precision of an accountant looking for errors. "That's a really interesting choice, very bold." Translation: "You look like you're trying too hard." "Thank you," Zawadi said. "You look exactly the same." Ji-won's smile tightened. "This is Minho, my boyfriend. He just made partner at Seoul's top corporate law firm." "Congratulations," Zawadi said to Minho, who had the grace to look slightly embarrassed by Ji-won's introduction. "And who is this?" Ji-won turned to Seo-jun with a smile that was pure calculation. Seo-jun looked at her. Just looked. Didn't smile, didn't speak. Just held eye contact until Ji-won's smile started to crack at the edges. "Kang Seo-jun," he finally said. Then he turned back to Zawadi. "Should we find our seats? I'd like to see the gallery before dinner." It was a dismissal so smooth that Ji-won didn't seem to realize she'd been cut until they were already walking away. "You didn't have to do that," Zawadi murmured as they crossed the hall. "Do what?" "Scare her." "I didn't scare her. I just didn't reward her for being rude to you." He glanced down at her. "Does she do that often?" "Every chance she gets." "Noted." The gallery was in the east wing, a long room with paintings and artifacts displayed on white walls under perfect lighting. Several other guests had already wandered in, champagne glasses in hand, making appropriate, impressed noises. Zawadi scanned the pieces automatically. Minor works, mostly. A few decent landscape paintings, Some calligraphy that was probably valuable more for the artist's name than the actual quality. Standard Rich Family Collection. Then she saw it, on the far wall, lit like it was the centerpiece. A painting, oil on canvas, dramatic mountain landscape. The card beneath it read, Lee Jung-seop, 1953. Zawadi went very still. "What is it?" Seo-jun asked quietly. "That painting. The Lee Jung-seop." She kept her voice low. "It's wrong." "Wrong how?" Lee Jung-seop's mountain paintings from that period used a very specific technique. The brushwork is distinctive, almost frantic. That piece is too controlled, too careful. She moved closer, studying the details. It's a good fake, really good, but it's not real. Seo-jun's expression didn't change, but she felt his attention sharpen. "Are you certain?" 95%. I'd need to examine it more closely to be completely sure, but the color composition is off. Lee used a particular blue. That's hard to reproduce. This is close, but not exact. Who does it belong to? Zawadi checked the small card next to the painting. Her stomach dropped. Park Sang-woo. That's Hyunja's eldest son, Ji-won's father. Seo-jun looked at the painting for a long moment. How much would a real Lee Jung-seop from that period be worth? At auction? Maybe 500 million won, possibly more. Zawadi's mind raced. If he's been claiming this is real, if he's used it as collateral or proof of assets, then he's committed fraud, Seo-jun finished. Interesting. A woman's voice interrupted them. Beautiful, isn't it? Hyunja had appeared beside them like a ghost. She looked at the painting with an expression of cool pride. Sang-woo acquired it 10 years ago. Very difficult to obtain. The Lee Jung-seop pieces from this period rarely come to market. Her eyes moved to Zawadi. Of course, you would appreciate it. Your mother always loved art, didn't she? The mention of her mother felt like a slap. Zawadi kept her face neutral. She did, Zawadi said. She taught me to look carefully, to see what's really there, not just what people want you to see. Hyunja's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went cold. How philosophical. Shall we move to dinner? Everyone's gathering. She swept away, leaving a trail of expensive perfume. You just told her you know, Seo-jun said quietly. Good. Zawadi turned from the painting. Let her think about it. Dinner was in the formal dining room, a space that could seat 40 people comfortably. Name cards marked each place. Zawadi found hers near the middle of the table. Careful placement that wasn't quite with the family, but wasn't quite separate either. Seo-jun's card was next to hers. Someone had added it recently. The calligraphy slightly different from the others. They sat. Around them, the Park family and their guests settled into seats with the kind of choreography that came from years of knowing exactly where everyone ranked. Ji-won was across the table and 3 seats down, positioned where she could watch Zawadi without being obvious about it. Minho sat beside her, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Yoon was at Hyunja's right hand. He kept glancing at Seo-jun like a student who hadn't studied for an exam. The first course arrived, some kind of delicate fish preparation that probably had a French name. Conversation rose around them, careful and controlled. So, Zawadi, a woman's voice called from down the table. One of the aunts. Zawadi couldn't remember which one. Are you still working at that little fabric company? How sweet that they kept you on. Every head turned slightly. This was it. The moment they'd been waiting for. I am, Zawadi said calmly. I'm their senior textile analyst. We handle authentication and sourcing for major fashion houses across Asia. How nice. And you're still in that apartment in Mapo-gu? The aunt smiled. Such a vibrant neighborhood, very diverse. Translation. Poor. It suits me, Zawadi said. I like being close to the textile markets. It's important to stay connected to the work. Of course. Though I imagine it must be difficult, living on such a modest salary. The aunt glanced at Seo-jun. Unless things have changed recently? The implication hung in the air like smoke. Zawadi felt her jaw tighten. Seo Jun set down his fork with a soft click. He didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. Miss Ochieng's salary is her business, he said. Though I can tell you that the 3 major auction houses in Seoul all have her on retainer. Her expertise is unique. When someone needs to know if a piece is authentic or fake, she's who they call. He paused. In fact, she's prevented several very embarrassing situations for prominent families. Saved them from displaying forgeries as real art. Very valuable service. The silence that followed was thick enough to cut. The aunt's smile froze. Down the table, Sang-woo had gone very pale. Hyunja raised her glass. "A toast," she said, cutting through the tension. "To family. And to unexpected guests who make the evening so much more interesting." Everyone drank. Zawadi barely tasted the wine. Under the table, she felt Seo Jun's hand brush against hers. Just for a second. Steadying. The meal continued. More courses, more conversation. Ji-won tried twice more to make subtle digs, but each time Seo Jun would ask Zawadi a question about her work, about textiles, about things that made her expertise impossible to ignore. By the 3rd course, people were actually listening when she spoke. By the 4th, 2 guests had asked for her business card. Zawadi watched it happen with a strange feeling in her chest. This was what it felt like. Not to be dismissed, not to be the charity case, just to be seen. After dinner, people scattered into smaller groups. Someone had opened the terrace doors. Cool night air drifted through the house. Zawadi escaped to a hallway, needing a moment alone. Her face hurt from holding it together. Her chest felt tight. She was studying a cabinet of ceramics, not really seeing them, when footsteps approached. "Running away?" Ji-won's voice. Of course. Zawadi turned slowly. Her step-cousin stood in the hallway, arms crossed, pretty face twisted into something ugly. "Just looking," Zawadi said. "At what? Things you can't afford?" Ji-won stepped closer. "You think bringing him changes anything? You think we don't know what this is?" "What is it, Ji-won? Please, everyone can see it. You found some rich man and convinced him to play boyfriend for the night. It's embarrassing, for him and for you." Zawadi felt something cold settle in her stomach. Not anger, something calmer than that. "You're scared," she said quietly. Ji-won's eyes flashed. "Excuse me? You're scared because for 3 years, you've gotten to feel superior to me. You've gotten to be the successful one, the pretty one, the one who belongs. And tonight I walked in, and none of your usual weapons worked." Zawadi took a step closer. "So now you're out here trying to convince me that I'm still small. Because if I'm not small, what does that make you? You don't know anything about me. I know you spread rumors that I slept with my boss to keep my job. I know you told people at my mother's funeral that she married your uncle for money. I know that you're mean because you're scared. And you're scared because deep down, you know that you're not actually that special. You're just rich." Ji-won's hand moved. For a second, Zawadi thought she might actually try to slap her. "Is there a problem?" Seo Jun's voice cut through the hallway like a knife. He stood at the end of the corridor, backlit from the main room. Zawadi couldn't see his face clearly, but she could feel the temperature drop. Ji-won stepped back immediately. "We were just talking." It didn't look like talking. He moved closer. "It looked like you were threatening her." "I wasn't. I would never." Ji-won's voice had gone high and nervous. "We're family." "Then act like it," Seo Jun said quietly. "Or leave her alone. Those are your options." Ji-won looked between them, face flushed with humiliation and rage. Then she turned and walked away quickly, heels clicking on the floor. Zawadi let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "You didn't need to do that," she said. "I know." Seo Jun came to stand beside her. "But I wanted to." "She'll make it worse now. Tell people you're controlling me or something." "Let her." He looked at her carefully. "Are you all right?" "I told her she wasn't special." Zawadi laughed, surprised at herself. I've wanted to say that for 3 years. How did it feel? Good. Really good. She met his eyes. Thank you. For tonight. For all of it. We're not done yet. He glanced back toward the main room. Yoon is about to leave. He's been trying to avoid me all night. I think we made him nervous. Mission accomplished? Partially. The real question is what he does next. Seo-jun tilted his head. Do you want to stay longer? Or should we make our exit? Zawadi thought about it. She'd come here expecting to endure. Instead, she'd won. The painting, the dinner, Ji-won in the hallway. All of it. Let's leave, she said. I want to go while I still feel like this. Like what? Like I'm not afraid of them anymore. They found Hyunja near the entrance, saying goodbye to other guests. The older woman's face was perfectly composed, but Zawadi saw tension in the set of her shoulders. Leaving so soon? Hyunja asked. Early morning tomorrow, Seo-jun said smoothly. Thank you for the hospitality. Of course. Hyunja's eyes moved to Zawadi. It was good to see you, dear. Perhaps we could have lunch sometime. Just the two of us. There are some family matters I'd like to discuss. Zawadi felt Seo-jun's attention sharpen beside her. Family matters. That was new. I'll check my schedule, Zawadi said neutrally. Please do. Hyunja smiled. Family should stay close, don't you think? In the car driving away, Zawadi watched the estate disappear behind them and felt something unknot in her chest. That was strange, she said. At the end, she's never asked to have lunch with me before. She wants something. Seo-jun was looking at his phone, frowning at something. The question is what? Maybe she's going to threaten me, tell me to stay away from the family. Maybe. He didn't sound convinced. Or maybe something else. Okay, quick pause. If you're invested in what Hyunja wants from Zawadi, and you want to see how this gets even more complicated, leave a comment and let me know what you think is about to happen. I love reading your theories. Now let's see what comes next. The car pulled up to Zawadi's building. Seo-jun's driver opened her door. Thank you, Zawadi said, turning to Seo-jun, for everything. I'll send you my authentication notes on the pieces in the gallery. Zawadi. He said her name like he was testing how it felt. You were extraordinary tonight. You know that, right? That wasn't me. That was you. Something warm bloomed in her chest. I should go. You should. But neither of them moved. The moment stretched. Zawadi became aware of how close they were sitting, how his eyes caught the streetlight, how her heart was doing something complicated in her chest. Then Seo-jun's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and whatever he saw made his expression close off. Good night, Miss Oh-chieng, he said, formal again. Zawadi got out of the car and walked to her building without looking back. She heard the car pull away only after she'd gone inside. In her apartment, she took off the dress carefully, hung it up, removed the bracelet. Then she sat on her bed and let herself shake. It was over. She'd done it. She'd walked into that room and walked out stronger. So why did she feel so strange? The weekend passed quietly. Zawadi caught up on work, avoided her phone, tried not to think about the reunion, or Seo-jun, or the way he'd looked at her in the car. Monday morning, a delivery arrived at her office. A long box, professionally wrapped. Inside was the kente cloth from the warehouse, the stolen piece that should have been in a museum. There was a card, just 2 words in clean handwriting. Now legal. Zawadi touched the fabric with shaking hands. This piece was worth more than she made in 2 years, maybe 3, and he'd just given it to her. She called the number. He answered on the first ring. I can't accept this, she said. It's already in your name. Legal transfer, all the paperwork filed. The museum was compensated. The original owners acknowledged. It's clean. That's not the point. What is the point? He sounded genuinely curious. This is too much. We had a business arrangement. I authenticated art. You escorted me to an event. This is This is something else. Silence on the other end. Then, you're right. It is something else. Call it a gift from someone who respects what you do, who you are. Zawadi closed her eyes. Seo Jun. Keep it, Zawadi. Let yourself have something beautiful. You've earned it. He hung up before she could argue. She spent the next hour staring at the cloth, running her fingers over the weaving, trying to understand what was happening. Tuesday afternoon, her phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Ochieng, this is Secretary Min calling on behalf of Park Hyun-ja. Mrs. Park would like to invite you to lunch on Thursday at 1. Are you available? Zawadi's first instinct was to say no, but curiosity won. I'm available, she said. Excellent. A car will collect you from your office at 12:30. Thursday came too fast. Zawadi dressed carefully, nothing too formal, nothing that looked like she was trying to impress. Simple gray slacks, white blouse, her mother's jade earrings. The car arrived exactly on time. It took her to a restaurant in Gangnam, the kind of place where they didn't list prices on the menu, because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Hyun-ja was already seated at a private table near the back. She looked up when Zawadi arrived and smiled. Thank you for coming, the older woman said. Please, sit. Zawadi sat. A waiter appeared immediately, poured water, disappeared. I'll get straight to the point, Hyun-ja said. I need your help. Of all the things Zawadi had expected, that wasn't one of them. My help with what? Mr. Yoon, the investor you met at the reunion. Hyun-ja's fingers traced the edge of her water glass. He's pulled his funding from our hotel development. As of Monday morning, he's completely withdrawn from negotiations. I'm sorry to hear that, Zawadi said carefully. But I don't understand what that has to do with me. Don't you? Hyun-ja's eyes were sharp. He was fine until Friday night, until he saw you with Kang Seo-jun. Then suddenly he's backing out, returning calls from our lawyers, moving his money elsewhere. Zawadi kept her face neutral. That sounds like a business decision. It's sabotage. Seo-jun did something, said something. I don't know what, but Yoon is terrified. Hyun-ja leaned forward slightly. I need you to find out why. I need you to talk to Seo-jun and convince him to fix this. You want me to negotiate with him on your behalf? Yes. Why would I do that? Zawadi asked. With respect, grandmother, this family has never asked me for anything before. Why would I help you now? Hyun-ja's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Respect, maybe. Or calculation. Because the hotel development isn't just about profit. The land includes a community textile market, small designers, independent artists. If this project collapses the wrong way, if Yoon spreads word that the Park family is a bad investment, we'll have to liquidate assets. The market property will be sold to whoever offers cash quickly. She paused. Those designers will lose everything. I believe you know some of them. Zawadi's blood went cold. She did know them. Mrs. Kim, who did traditional bojagi wrapping cloths. Young Ho, who made the most beautiful naturally dyed silks she'd ever seen. A dozen others who'd been kind to her when she first arrived in Seoul, who treated her like a fellow artist instead of a foreign curiosity. You're using them as leverage, Zawadi said quietly. I'm being honest about the consequences. Help me or don't. But know what your choice means. The waiter returned with menus. Hyun-ja ordered something light. Zawadi ordered, without tasting the words in her mouth. After the waiter left, Zawadi said, If I do this, I have conditions. Name them. First, you put the market protection in writing. Legal guarantees that no matter what happens with the hotel, that space stays safe. Agreed. Second, you stop. All of it. The little comments, the casual cruelty, Ji-won spreading rumors. All of it stops. Hyun-ja studied her for a long moment. I can control myself. I cannot control Ji-won's tongue. Then make her afraid to use it. Something that might have been amusement crossed Hyun-ja's face. You've changed. Friday night wasn't a performance, was it? You've actually stopped being afraid of us." "I was never afraid of you," Zawadi said. "I was just tired of fighting. There's a difference." "Yes," Hyunja nodded slowly. "There is. We have a deal, Zawadi. Get Yoon back to the table and I'll give you what you want." After lunch, Zawadi sat in the car and tried to think. She needed to talk to Seo-jun, needed to find out what he'd actually done and whether he could undo it. More than that, she needed to understand why he'd done it in the first place. She called his number. It went to voicemail. She tried again an hour later. Voicemail. By evening, she was frustrated enough to text him directly. "We need to talk. It's important." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "My office, tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll send the address." The address came through 2 minutes later. Somewhere in Gangnam, high floor, expensive building. Zawadi showed up at 9:55, wearing her work clothes and carrying a determination she didn't quite feel. The office was everything she expected. Glass and steel, floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over Seoul, furniture that probably cost more than most people's cars. Seo-jun's assistant led her to a private conference room and left her there. He arrived at exactly 10, wearing a dark suit and an expression she couldn't read. "Zawadi." He closed the door behind him. "You said it was important." She didn't sit down. Neither did he. "Did you sabotage the Park family's investment deal?" she asked directly. He didn't even blink. "Yes." "Why?" "Because you owed me a favor, and I decided to collect it. You did it because of the reunion, because of me. I did it because they were using him to make you feel small, and I don't like it when people try to make you small." He moved closer. "Is that a problem?" "It's a problem because now they're threatening to sell the textile market property. People I care about will lose their studios, their livelihoods." She kept her voice steady. "Hyunja asked me to fix this, to convince you to bring Yoon back." Seo-jun went very still. "She asked you?" "Yes. And you came here to negotiate for them." "I came here to negotiate for the market, for the people who actually matter." Zawadi met his eyes. "Can you fix it? Can you get Yoon to reinvest?" He was quiet for a long moment, studying her face like he was looking for something. "I can," he finally said. "But I want to know something first. Why does the market matter so much to you?" "Because when I first came to Seoul, I didn't know anyone. My mother was dying, and the parks treated me like an obligation, and I was alone in a country where I barely spoke the language." She swallowed hard. "The market was where I went when I needed to remember who I was. The people there didn't care about my last name, or my mother's marriage, or any of it. They cared about the work, about the fabric. They taught me, helped me, treated me like I belonged. And now you're protecting them." "I'm trying to." Seo-jun moved to the window, looked out at the city. "Hyunja is manipulating you. You know that, right? She's using your compassion against you." "I know." Zawadi joined him at the window. "But the market is still real. Those people still need help. Even if she's a terrible person, the consequences are real." He turned to look at her. They were standing close enough that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. "I'll fix it," he said quietly. "But not for her. For you. Seo-jun. I'll bring Yoon back to the table. I'll make sure the deal goes through and the market is protected." He paused. "But I want something in return." Zawadi's heart kicked against her ribs. "What?" "Dinner. Real dinner. Not a business arrangement or a favor exchange, just dinner. With me." The request hung in the air between them. Zawadi should say no. This man was dangerous in ways she still didn't fully understand. His world had edges she'd only glimpsed. Getting involved with him was complicated at best, destructive at worst. But when she looked at him, she didn't see danger. She saw the man who'd stood beside her at the reunion, who'd given her back a piece of her heritage, who'd listened when she talked about her mother, who was offering to help people he'd never met because she asked him to. "Okay," she said. Dinner. His smile was slow and genuine, and it made her stomach flip. Saturday, he said. I'll pick you up at 7. Zawadi spent the next 2 days trying not to think about Saturday. She failed completely. Work became a blur of fabric samples she couldn't focus on, and phone calls she had to ask people to repeat. Mr. Cho asked her 3 times if she was feeling well. She told him she was fine, and wondered when she'd become such a bad liar. Friday afternoon, Seo Jun called. Yoon is back in, he said without preamble. He'll be signing the revised contracts Monday morning. The textile market is written into the agreement as protected property. Legal guarantees, exactly what you wanted. Zawadi sat down at her desk. How did you do it that fast? I reminded him that I could make his other investments very complicated if I wanted to. Then I offered him a better deal on a shipping contract he's been trying to negotiate for 6 months. He paused. Carrot and stick. It works. That's thank you. Really? You can thank me tomorrow. At dinner. His voice changed slightly. Unless you've changed your mind. No, I haven't changed my mind. Good. Wear something comfortable. We're not going anywhere fancy. He hung up before she could ask what that meant. Saturday evening arrived with the kind of slow inevitability that made Zawadi's stomach tie itself in knots. She changed outfits 4 times before settling on dark jeans, a silk blouse the color of rust, and ankle boots. Casual but intentional. The bracelet he'd given her at the reunion went on her wrist. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. She opened it expecting his driver. Instead, Seo Jun stood in her hallway wearing jeans and a simple black sweater, car keys in his hand. You drove yourself, she said, stupidly. I do that sometimes. He smiled. Ready? The car was nice, but not obscene. He opened her door, went around to his side, pulled into traffic with the ease of someone who actually enjoyed driving. Where are we going? Zawadi asked. You'll see. They drove west, away from the expensive neighborhoods, toward areas Zawadi actually recognized. He pulled into a parking spot near Mangwon Market and turned off the engine. We're eating here, she asked. Best food in Seoul isn't in Gangnam, it's in places like this. He got out, came around to open her door. Trust me. She did. That was the strange part. She actually did. They walked through the market as evening settled in, past vendors selling vegetables and fish, and about 100 things Zawadi couldn't name. Seo Jun moved through the crowd like he belonged there, nodding to a few vendors who clearly recognized him. He stopped at a tiny restaurant tucked between a flower shop and a place selling kitchen supplies. The sign was faded, the door was narrow, and it smelled absolutely incredible. Inside, an elderly woman looked up from behind the counter, and her face split into a genuine smile. Seo Jun, it's been too long. Your usual table? Please, Mrs. Han, he gestured to Zawadi. This is Zawadi. She's never had your cooking before. Mrs. Han's eyes went wide. First time. Oh, we have to fix that. Sit, sit. They sat at a small table near the back. Mrs. Han brought tea without asking, then disappeared into the kitchen. You come here often, Zawadi said. It wasn't a question. When I was starting out, I lived 2 blocks from here. Mrs. Han used to feed me even when I couldn't always pay right away. He poured tea for both of them. Some things you don't forget. You don't seem like someone who was ever broke. Everyone starts somewhere. He met her eyes over his cup. I wasn't always this. There was a time when I was just a kid trying to survive in a city that didn't care if I lived or died. Zawadi wanted to ask more, but Mrs. Han returned with enough food to feed 6 people. Stew and rice and banchan covering every inch of the table. Eat! Eat! Mrs. Han commanded. You're too skinny, both of you. The food was incredible. Zawadi said so around a mouthful of something spicy and perfect. Seo Jun watched her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You have gochujang on your chin. She wiped it away, laughing. This is really where you wanted to take me. Not some expensive restaurant where you could show off? Would you have liked that better? No. This is This is perfect, actually. They ate and talked. Really talked. He asked about her work, seemed genuinely interested in the difference between hand-dyed and synthetic fabrics. She asked about his legitimate businesses, learned he'd started with a single shipping container of furniture, and built an empire through careful calculation and occasional ruthlessness. The other stuff, Zawadi said carefully. The things people whisper about. Is it true? Some of it. He didn't look away. I've done things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who probably deserved it, but maybe not the way I did it. Built relationships based on fear instead of respect. He set down his chopsticks. I'm trying to be better. It's harder than it sounds. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked, and because I don't want you to think I'm something I'm not. He leaned back. I'm not a good man, Zawadi. I'm just trying to be a better one. She thought about that, about the warehouse and the stolen art he'd returned, about the way he'd stood beside her at the reunion, about fixing the investment deal for people he'd never met. I think you're better than you give yourself credit for, she said quietly. His smile was small and surprised. That's generous. It's honest. Mrs. Han brought them fruit for dessert and refused to let Seo Jun pay full price despite his arguing. They left with full stomachs and something warm settling between them. On the drive back, Zawadi looked out the window at Seoul sliding past and felt something shift in her chest. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why did you really agree to go to the reunion with me? The truth. Seo Jun was quiet for a moment. Because I saw you in that warehouse and you weren't afraid. And I thought, anyone who can look at danger and still tell the truth is someone I want to know better. He glanced at her. I didn't expect to actually like you this much. Is that a problem? I don't know yet. He pulled up to her building. Can I see you again? Not for business, just because I want to. Zawadi's heart did something complicated. Yes. Next Saturday? Okay. He walked her to her door, even though she told him he didn't have to. At her doorstep, they stood in the hallway light and looked at each other. Thank you for tonight, Zawadi said. Thank you for saying yes. He reached out, tucked a piece of hair behind her ear. The touch was gentle, careful. Good night, Zawadi. Good night. She went inside and leaned against the door, smiling like an idiot. Monday morning brought news that Yoon had indeed signed the new contracts. Hyunja called personally to thank her, in a tone that suggested the words physically hurt to say. The family appreciates your intervention, the older woman said. Perhaps we've underestimated you. Perhaps you have, Zawadi agreed. There was a pause. Then Hyunja said something Zawadi never expected. Your mother would be proud of you. The way you handled this. The way you've handled everything. The line went dead before Zawadi could respond. She sat at her desk, staring at her phone, and felt tears prick her eyes. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't acceptance. But it was something. A crack in the wall. Tuesday afternoon, everything went sideways. A journalist called her office. Young voice, eager, slightly nervous. Miss Oh Chieng, my name is Hannah Park. I'm writing a piece about prominent families in Seoul and their connections. I was hoping to ask you some questions about your relationship with Kang Seo Jun. Zawadi's blood went cold. I don't do interviews. It's just background. There are rumors about the nature of your relationship, about your position in the Park family, about how you got your job. Hannah's voice took on an edge. I'm trying to be fair, give you a chance to tell your side. Who gave you this information? Silence. Then, I can't reveal my sources. Was it Jiwon Park? More silence. That was answer enough. I have nothing to say, Zawadi said, and hung up. Her hands were shaking. This was it. This was Jiwon's revenge. A tabloid story painting her as a gold digger, a fraud, a charity case sleeping her way into relevance. She could fight it. Hire a lawyer, deny everything, make it a big public battle. Or she could let Seo Jun handle it. One phone call, and this journalist would probably disappear along with her story. Zawadi sat at her desk and thought about the woman in the warehouse who told the truth even when it was dangerous, about who she wanted to be. Then she called the journalist back. "I'll give you a story," Zawadi said, "but not the one you're looking for." They met at a coffee shop in Hongdae. Hannah was younger than Zawadi expected, maybe 25, with sharp eyes and a recorder she set on the table between them. "I appreciate you meeting me," Hannah said. "I'm not going to talk about my personal life, or Seo Jun, or the Park family drama." Zawadi leaned forward. "But I will talk about something more interesting, if you're actually a journalist and not just looking for gossip." Hannah's expression shifted. "I'm listening." There's a textile market in Seongsu-dong, about 30 independent designers and artists working in a space that's been there for 20 years. They're facing displacement because of development pressure. Most of them can't afford the rent increases, can't relocate, would lose everything they've built. Zawadi pulled out her phone, showed Hannah photos. These are the people making traditional Korean textiles using methods that are dying out. This woman here, Mrs. Kim, she's one of the last people in Seoul who still does natural indigo dyeing. This designer, Young-ho, he sources all his silk from small farmers and pays them fair prices. These are real stories. Important stories. Hannah was looking at the photos with growing interest. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I think you're better than the hit piece Ji-won Park asked you to write, and because this market just got protected in a new development deal, which is a good news story that people might actually care about." Zawadi met her eyes. "You can write about my love life and get clicks for a week. Or you can write about something that matters and maybe make a difference. Your choice." Hannah looked at the recorder on the table. Then she picked it up and turned it off. "Tell me about the market," she said. They talked for 2 hours. Zawadi gave her contact information for every designer she knew, explained the development deal, outlined what protection actually meant. Hannah took notes and asked smart questions, and by the end, Zawadi could see the journalist's eyes bright with the kind of excitement that came from finding a real story. "This is good," Hannah said. "This is really good. Can I quote you?" "Yes. But I want you to center the designers, not me. This isn't about me being charitable or whatever. It's about their work mattering." "Agreed." Hannah paused. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About the other thing. Ji-won made it sound different. Ji-won makes everything sound different than it is. That's her specialty." The article ran 3 days later, not in a tabloid, but in a major Seoul daily. Full feature, beautiful photos of the market and the designers, quotes from everyone including Zawadi. It talked about traditional crafts, economic displacement, community resilience. It went viral by evening. Zawadi's phone exploded with messages. Designers from the market thanking her, strangers asking where they could buy the textiles, 3 galleries wanting to do shows, and 1 text from Seo Jun. "Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This is better than anything I could have done." She called him. "You saw the article?" Everyone saw the article. "Do you know what you just did?" He sounded almost awed. "You turned Ji-won's weapon into a platform. The public pressure this creates means Yoon can't back out even if he wanted to. The market isn't just protected, it's famous now. People will be watching. I just told the truth about something that mattered. You did more than that. You changed the whole game." He paused. "How angry do you think Ji-won is right now?" "Probably very." "Good. She earned it." His voice softened. "Are you free tomorrow? I want to see you." "Tomorrow's Saturday." "I know. I was thinking, maybe we make it a regular thing, if you want." Zawadi smiled. "I want." He picked her up at 10 in the morning this time, dressed casually, looking nervous in a way she'd never seen before. "Where are we going?" she asked. "The market. I want to see it, if that's okay." They drove to Seongsu-dong together. The market was busy, full of people who'd come because of the article. Designers were overwhelmed, excited, selling pieces and talking to visitors. Mrs. Kim saw Zawadi and immediately pulled her into a hug. "You did this. All these people, they came because of you. They came because your work is beautiful. They came because you told them it mattered." Mrs. Kim held her at arm's length. "Your mother would be so proud. You know that, yes?" Zawadi nodded, not trusting her voice. Seo Jun hung back, clearly out of place in his expensive casual wear among the bolts of fabric and the artists in work clothes. But he looked interested, actually interested. Young Ho was demonstrating silk dyeing techniques to a small crowd. Zawadi brought Seo Jun over. "This is natural dye," Young Ho explained, holding up a length of fabric in deep blue. "From persimmon. Takes 3 days to set properly, but the color lasts for years." Seo Jun studied it carefully. "How do you keep the color from fading?" They launched into a technical discussion that Zawadi only half followed. She watched Seo Jun ask questions, really listen to the answers, treat Young Ho like an expert worth learning from. After a while, Seo Jun picked up a length of indigo-dyed linen. "What is this one?" "That's Mrs. Kim's work," Zawadi said. "She's been doing indigo dye for 40 years. He looked at the fabric for a long moment. Then he bought it, and 3 other pieces, and commissioned Mrs. Kim to make something custom for his office. As they walked through the market, Zawadi realized people were watching them, not with suspicion or judgment, with curiosity, interest. A young designer approached shyly. "Are you Zawadi Ochieng, from the article?" "Yes. I just wanted to say thank you. My family thought I was wasting my time with textiles, but after the article, they saw that what we do matters. My mom called to apologize for not supporting me." The girl's eyes were bright. "You changed something, for all of us." After she left, Seo Jun looked at Zawadi with an expression she couldn't quite name. "What?" she asked. "You're remarkable. You know that, right? You're not just smart or talented. You make things better just by being in them." Zawadi felt her face heat. "I just did what felt right. That's what makes it remarkable." They found a quiet corner near the back of the market. Seo Jun set down his purchases and turned to face her. "I need to tell you something," he said, "and I need you to be honest about how you feel after." Zawadi's heart kicked up. "Okay. I didn't just fix the Yoon situation because you asked. I sabotaged it in the first place partly for you. I saw how they treated you at the reunion, and I wanted to hurt them, to take something away from them the way they'd taken things from you." He ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't think about the market or the consequences. I just wanted them to pay." "I know," Zawadi said quietly. He blinked. "You know, I suspected from the beginning. The timing was too convenient. And you're not someone who does things randomly." She stepped closer. "I was angry at first. But then I realized something. You made a mistake and you fixed it. When I told you people would get hurt, you didn't make excuses or justify it. You just fixed it. I should have thought it through. Probably. But you're human. Humans make mistakes." She reached out, took his hand. "What matters is what you do after." He looked down at their joined hands. "I'm not used to people giving me second chances. Get used to it." They stood there in the middle of the textile market, surrounded by fabric and art and people, and something settled between them. Something real. "Zawadi," Seo Jun said softly, "I don't know what I'm doing here. With you. I'm good at business and strategy and reading situations. But this, I don't have a strategy for this. Good. I don't want strategy. I want honest." He smiled. "I can do honest. I think." He squeezed her hand gently. "Can we keep doing this? The Saturdays, seeing each other, figuring out what this is. Yes, I'd like that." Someone called Zawadi's name. One of the designers needed her opinion on something. She started to pull away, but Seo Jun held on for just a moment longer. "Thank you," he said, "for seeing me, the real me, not the rumors or the reputation. Just me. That's the only version I want," Zawadi said. The following week moved like a dream. Work continued, but Zawadi felt lighter somehow. The designers from the market kept in touch, sending photos of sales and new commissions. Hannah the journalist called to say she was doing a follow-up piece, and every evening around 6, Zawadi's phone would buzz with a text from Seo Jun. Sometimes just a photo of something he'd seen that made him think of her. Sometimes a question about textiles or a random observation about his day. It felt normal, nice, like something she was allowed to have. Thursday afternoon, her phone rang. Unknown number again. "Miss Ochieng, this is Secretary Min. Mrs. Park would like to invite you to a small family dinner this Sunday. Just immediate family. She was hoping you could attend." Zawadi almost laughed. Just immediate family. Like she was finally being counted. "Tell Mrs. Park I'll be there." Sunday evening, she arrived at the Park estate in her own car, wearing a simple dress and her mother's jewelry. No armor. No performance. The dinner was smaller than the reunion. Just Hyunja, her 2 sons, and a handful of others. Jiwon was noticeably absent. Hyunja greeted her at the door. "Thank you for coming. Please, sit wherever you're comfortable." The meal was civil. People asked about her work, actually listened to her answers. No one made cutting remarks about her apartment or her salary. It wasn't warm. The Parks weren't suddenly going to start treating her like beloved family. But it was different. Respectful. Like they'd finally realized she wasn't going away, and they needed to adjust their calculations. After dinner, Hyunja asked to speak with her privately. They went to a small sitting room overlooking the garden. Hyunja poured tea herself, handed Zawadi a cup. "I wanted to thank you again," the older woman said, "for your help with the investment situation, and for handling the journalist the way you did. I didn't do it for you. I know. That's what makes it more impressive." Hyunja sat down across from her. "I've been unfair to you, not just recently, since your mother married into this family." Zawadi said nothing. Waited. "The truth is, I resented her. Your mother. She was kind and genuine, and my son loved her completely. She made him happy in a way his first marriage never did." Hyunja looked into her tea. "I thought she was using him, taking advantage. I was wrong. And by the time I realized it, she was gone, and you were here, and I had been so terrible that I didn't know how to fix it." "So you just kept being terrible?" "Yes. It was easier than admitting I'd made a mistake." Hyunja met her eyes. "I cannot undo the last 3 years. I cannot make Jiwon less cruel or erase the things that were said. But I can do better going forward. If you'll let me." Zawadi thought about it. About her mother, who'd always believed in second chances. About Seo Jun at the market, learning and trying. "I'm not going to pretend we're close," Zawadi said. "I'm not going to call you grandmother and mean it. But I'm willing to try to see if we can at least be civil. That's more generous than I deserve. Probably. But my mother taught me that holding grudges takes more energy than moving forward." Zawadi set down her cup. "Where is Jiwon? I noticed she wasn't here." Jiwon has been encouraged to spend time reflecting on her choices, away from Seoul. Hyunja's voice was crisp. What she did with that journalist was unacceptable. She embarrassed this family. That has consequences. You sent her away. For now. Until she learns that cruelty has costs. Hyunja stood. "You are part of this family, Zawadi, whether Jiwon likes it or not, whether I handled it well or not. Your mother married my son, and that makes you ours. I should have honored that from the beginning. Before you find out what happens next, I need you to do something for me. If this story has made you feel anything, if you're invested in Zawadi and Seo Jun, hit that subscribe button right now. Because this journey isn't over, and you're going to want to be here for what comes next. Seriously, subscribe. You won't regret it. Now let's finish this. Zawadi left the Park estate feeling strange. Not happy exactly, but lighter. Like she'd been carrying something heavy and finally got to set it down. Her phone buzzed. Seo-jun. How did it go? Better than expected. Hyunja almost apologized. Almost? She's working up to it. Baby steps. Zawadi got in her car. Are we still on for Saturday? Always. I was thinking we could go back to the market. I want to pick up that commission from Mrs. Kim. You're really getting into textiles, aren't you? I'm getting into things you care about. There's a difference. Zawadi smiled. See you Saturday. The weeks that followed settled into a rhythm. Work during the week, where Zawadi's reputation had grown enough that she was getting offers from bigger companies. Saturday mornings at the market with Seo-jun, where he slowly became less out of place and more genuinely interested. He learned the names of the designers, started buying pieces not because Zawadi suggested them, but because he actually liked them. Talked to Mrs. Kim about natural dyes like he was studying for an exam. One Saturday, Zawadi found him deep in conversation with Young-ho about silk sourcing. I might know some suppliers, Seo-jun was saying. Small farms in Gyeonggi-do. They do good work, fair prices. I could make an introduction. After Young-ho left, Zawadi looked at Seo-jun with something warm in her chest. What? He asked. You're helping them. Not because I asked, just because you want to. They're good people doing good work. Why wouldn't I help? The man I met in that warehouse wouldn't have cared. The man in the warehouse hadn't met you yet. He reached out, took her hand. You make me want to be better. Does that sound ridiculous? No, it sounds honest. They were standing close enough that Zawadi could see the exact moment his eyes dropped to her lips, her breath caught. Can I kiss you? He asked quietly. Yes. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. Then his lips met hers, gentle and sure and perfect. The market noise faded. Everything faded except the feeling of his hand in her hair, his other hand on her waist, the way he kissed her like she was something precious. When they pulled apart, Zawadi was smiling. That was good, she said. Just good? He was smiling too. Really good. Better. Someone whistled from across the market. Mrs. Kim was grinning at them like she'd won a prize. About time. The older woman called. Seo-jun laughed, actually laughed, and pulled Zawadi closer. I think we just made Mrs. Kim's day. I think we made mine too. 3 months later, Zawadi accepted a position as head textile consultant for a major Seoul fashion house. Triple her old salary, her own office, a team working under her. The Park family sent flowers. Hyunja sent a handwritten note that said simply, well deserved. Ji-won sent nothing. She was still in Busan, working at a family hotel property and learning, according to Hyunja, some humility. Zawadi's first day at the new job, a delivery arrived. A framed piece of fabric, the indigo work from the market, professionally mounted. The card read, for your new office, from someone who believes you can do anything. S. She hung it where she could see it from her desk. That Saturday, she met Seo-jun at the market like always. He was waiting near Mrs. Kim's stall, talking with Young-ho about something technical. When he saw her, his whole face changed, softened, like she was the best thing he'd seen all day. Hey, he said, and kissed her like it was the most natural thing in the world. Hey yourself. They walked through the market hand in hand, stopping to look at new work, greeting designers they both knew now. It felt easy. Right. I have something to tell you, Seo-jun said, as they sat down at a small cafe at the edge of the market. Zawadi's stomach dropped. That sounds ominous. It's not bad, just complicated. He took a breath. Someone from my past is coming to Seoul. Someone I used to work with before I went legitimate. They want to meet. Do you want to meet them? I don't know. Part of me wants to prove I've changed. Part of me thinks that world should stay in the past. He looked at her. I wanted you to know, in case things get messy. Zawadi thought about it. About the man in the warehouse and the man sitting across from her now. About change and choice and the fact that nothing was ever simple. We'll figure it out, she said. Together. You sure you want to deal with my mess? Your mess is part of you, and I want all of you. She squeezed his hand. Besides, I handled the Park family. How bad can your past be? He laughed. You might regret that question. Maybe. But I won't regret this. Us. Neither will I. He lifted her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles gently. So we're doing this. Actually doing this. The standing Saturdays? The real relationship? The complicated, messy future? Zawadi smiled. Yes. We're doing this. Good. He pulled her closer across the small table. Because I'm not letting you go, Zawadi Ochieng. You're stuck with me now. I can think of worse fates. He kissed her again, soft and sweet. And Zawadi felt everything click into place. The market around them, the life she'd built, the man who saw her for exactly who she was and liked what he found. It wasn't simple. It probably never would be. But it was hers. Really, truly hers. And that was enough. Mrs. Kim walked past, carrying a bolt of newly dyed fabric, and called out, You two are going to be trouble together. I can tell. Seo Jun grinned. She's probably right. Definitely right, Zawadi agreed. They stayed at the market until evening, until the vendors started packing up and the light turned gold. Then they walked to Seo Jun's car, hands linked, talking about everything and nothing. What are you thinking? He asked as they drove through Seoul. Zawadi looked out the window at the city that had been foreign once and felt like home now. At the man beside her, who'd started as a dangerous stranger and become something she couldn't quite name but didn't want to lose. I'm thinking I'm happy, she said simply. Is that allowed? It's required. He glanced at her, eyes warm. I'm happy too, in case you were wondering. I was hoping. They drove through the evening, toward whatever came next. The past still there but getting smaller in the rearview mirror. The future uncertain but full of possibility. And every Saturday morning, they'd meet at the market. That was the deal. That was the promise. Everything else, they'd figure out together. Because Zawadi had learned something important in the months since that reunion. She wasn't the charity case. She wasn't the outsider. She wasn't small or lesser, or any of the things they'd tried to make her believe. She was Zawadi Ochieng, textile expert, daughter, artist, partner, gift. Her name meant gift, and she was finally starting to believe it. Seo Jun pulled up to her building and walked her to her door like he always did. At her doorstep, under the hallway light, he cupped her face in his hands. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For taking a chance on the dangerous guy at the warehouse. For being brave enough to walk into that reunion. For teaching me that being better is possible. He kissed her forehead. For being you. You make it sound like I did something heroic. I just existed. That's the heroic part. You existed loudly in a world that wanted you quiet. You took up space when they tried to make you small. You told the truth when lying was safer. He smiled. That's everything, Zawadi. She pulled him down and kissed him properly, putting everything she couldn't say into the press of her lips against his. When they broke apart, both breathless, Seo Jun rested his forehead against hers. Saturday? He whispered. Saturday, she confirmed. She watched him walk away, waited until he got in his car, and drove off before going inside. Her apartment felt different now. Not lonely. Just hers. A space she'd claimed and filled with things she loved. Fabric samples and photos, and her mother's jewelry box, and now a text message that made her smile. Already missing you. Sleep well. S. She fell asleep happy. And when Saturday came again, like it always would, she'd be ready. But hey, before you go, one more thing. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. What moment hit you hardest? What do you think happens when Seo Jun's past shows up? Your support means everything. It's what makes these stories possible. So subscribe, comment, share this with someone who needs to hear a story about a woman who refused to be small, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Until next time.